I keep getting that confused because Patrick Henry is from Hanover County in Virginia, and he kind of had the same thing, give me liberty or give me death. So, but let me tell you, we need to be happy warriors. I think sometimes people think conservatives are the party of no, but we've got to be happy warriors out there to seize back our country and a world now back to freedom. Thank you so much for having the opportunity to be with you today.
Our next emerging leader is State Representative Tony Hwang of Connecticut. And last night we were talking at dinner, and Tony was talking with great pride about his children, and I said, you know, as a new father, I now understand the bond that gets created between a child and their grandparents. It's because they have a common enemy. Tony personifies the American success story. It was his father who came to America, who struggled in those early days. Tony spent his early years in federal housing projects, but had parents very dedicated to him being educated and learning the values and learning the principles of what it takes to be successful in America, to the point that Tony was able to start his own business, succeed at that business, and now has started a second career in residential real estate. It is that message that he takes all across Connecticut, and we are now trying to get him all across America, talking about how we have to make sure the American opportunity is available to everyone. And to hear that message from Representative Hwang, I present to you Tony Hwang.
Thank you, David, and it is a privilege to be here. And let me start by saying that as an immigrant in this country, America is the greatest country in the world, the greatest. And I say that because my parents escaped from the communists in China, and I think Ambassador Bolton said it best, that the fact of the matter is this country is the beacon of freedom. It is the beacon of freedom that everybody looks up to, and we should never waver from that. We should bargain from a position of strength. And that is really, when you talk about how people become Republicans, that is what it is, to me, a Republican is all about. A Republican believes in pursuing the American dream, in recognizing that we, every individual, has a right to pursue personal security, personal freedom, and the fact that we are Americans is one that we can carry high throughout the world. What Ambassador Bolton said was a real concern, that American ambassadors and Americans abroad are not accorded the respect and the protection. And that is something that is a serious concern to me. I'll begin by saying that, you know, I stand before you, a state representative that's going to run for the state senate. I will be the first Asian American to possibly win a state senate race in all of New England. And I say that and I hope to do that as an Asian American Republican, to show the rest of the country that truly the GOP is the big tent party. Now, I'll go through that and recognize that, yes, my parents escaped the communists. We came to the United States and spent the first 2.5 years in a federal housing project. I have to tell you, there are so many other children and families that live in poverty in this day and age. And I think the fact of the matter is we need to reach out to them. We need to make them understand that the pursuit of the American dream is available to everyone. And I know some of the problems we have in the Northeast and looking at the urban populations. I truly believe that we have an opportunity to make inroads and to win elections in the Northeast. For me, winning elections is the bottom line. The bottom line to anything we do as politicians is to win elections. Now, Bryce, who spoke so eloquently, you and I may be a little bit different from a standpoint of our philosophy and viewpoints. But But I will tell you one thing that you and I share. We share common Republican values. We share tremendous heart, self-determination, initiative, and we will never, ever, ever lose. And I would hope that everyone in this room that represents the leadership throughout all of the Northeast go back to the people that you represent and instill that sense of fight, that sense of determination that successful people in business and in life demonstrate. We need to reinstill that in our political leaders. We don't see it. We don't see it. We lose elections because people don't believe they can change people's minds. I think I did. When I first ran in 2008, I was an unknown running up against an established incumbent Democrat. I ran in a district that was 50-50, and one district voted 5-1 for Obama. I won that district. 2 years later, I ran in that district, and they voted 4-1 for Blumenthal against Linda McMahon. I won that district 3-1. 2 years later, they redistricted me out of the district to an 80% Republican district. And my predecessor following me in that election lost that district 5-1. The fact of the matter is, it does matter when you care. It does matter when you show authenticity. It does matter when you represent the people in your district. I think the lesson I've learned in this is, as we're getting visibility, I want to take that message and bring it back down locally. I really want for all of us to recognize, as we sit here on a national basis, it's important. It absolutely is important. But the fact of the matter is, I truly believe we need to build our farm team. We need to build leaders, as GOPAC has initiated, to build leaders from the grassroots who have the foundation and the foundation of success to run for higher office. We have not done that. We really haven't. We have not won local races of significance to build up people, to set them up to be successful down the road. I hope that in bringing that message and fighting the fight, and if nothing else, to reiterate again that there are so many other me's out there that are waiting for an opportunity to fight for the Republican brand. Let's get them there. Let's get them to win. Let's win back this country. And that is something that I'll fight to the end of my day, because it really does matter. It represents what my parents gave up so much to come to this country for. This is the greatest country in the world. And if we don't fight to win it back, I just don't know what may be left for my kids. And that is something that I want to thank all of you for all you do in a grassroots community, in what you do, in giving, in sharing. Never give up fighting. I hate to use that parlance, but we are in a competition to win. And what happens afterwards will shape what will happen to us. Look, we have choices. We can pick up, move to another state. We could even move to another country. But that's not where my parents came to. That's not where I want to bring my kids to. I want this to be the greatest country in the world 200 years from now. And I hope you'll join me in that fight. Thank you.
And now we bring you, yes. And now we bring you our emerging leader from New Hampshire. for those of you who know the Sanborns, and the more I get to hang out with the Sanborns, I'm not sure we got the right one on the advisory board. Andy's not here, right? As the policy chair for the House Republican Caucus, it is Laurie Sanborn who is helping to drive ideas and advancing ideas for the Republicans to talk about on job creation and on getting the economy moving here in New Hampshire. And that it's her ability to communicate that has her leading the caucus to talk about job creation in a way that everyday citizens can understand, that everyday legislators and Republicans can use to help communicate our ideas. And I'll give you just one example. It was because of Laurie's efforts that an effort is being led now and passed where now small businesses facing an audit no longer have to prove to the tax department that they're innocent. The tax department has to prove that they did something wrong. It is that ability that we believe shows why she's an emerging leader and why you're going to be able to be voting for her many times in the future as she helps lead New Hampshire. Representative Laurie Sanborn.
Good morning. Great to see all of you. I appreciate your being here on a Saturday morning. I know there's many other things you could be doing, but it's so important that you chose to be here today. And I do want to thank Dave Avella and GoPac for all that they do for all the emerging leaders across the country and my colleagues. It's so nice to know that there are other states fighting the good fight alongside us. I want to take a moment to recognize my fellow state representatives and recent fellow state representatives who are in the room today. So if you would just stand up for a moment. Regina, Al, Glenn, Linda, there's more of you. I know there are. Bill Ohm is out there somewhere. Please stand up. Joe, thank you. You have done yeoman's work this year, fighting with me every step of the way, and we have been very united together, so thank you. You know, it wasn't long ago when we had control of the House in New Hampshire. In fact, we had a supermajority, and it was wonderful. So join me for a moment as we reminisce. Do you remember when we reversed an $800 million deficit? When we cut state spending 18%. When we passed 50 pro-business bills that reformed taxes, that cut excessive regulation, and that created jobs. When we passed major tort reform to reduce health insurance costs. When we actually cut taxes, not just once, but on numerous occasions. The tobacco tax, taxes on business. We cut the tax on internet access, and we even eliminated a vehicle registration surcharge. We even passed a bill to ensure education excellence for all, so that all of our kids, regardless of income or zip code, could find the best possible educational match. I actually get a little misty-eyed when I think about all that great work we achieved when Republicans were in charge of the New Hampshire House. But now let's look where we are today. Since losing 100 Republican House seats in the 2012 election, House Democrats have pushed for spending well beyond our means. Lots of new taxes on tobacco, heating oil. They've even tried to put a tax on beer. Repealing all of the pro-business work that we did, trying to repeal school choice, and cutting off our charter schools. And this year, they are pushing a national Democrat agenda: gun control, universal background checks, minimum wage increases, paycheck equity, an absolute war on employers, creating new and excessive prohibitions on hiring decisions. And of course, Democrats continue to push the destruction of health care under Obamacare. I say enough is enough. New Hampshire used to be exceptional. We were the business-friendly state. I can remember 20 years ago when I was a human resources executive, when we had more jobs than we had people. I was offering sign-on bonuses for people to leave their current job and literally walk across the street to join our team. We had companies and families flocking here. We had free market competition. We had affordable health care. And we used to have what I call the advantage, the New Hampshire advantage, which is of low taxes as a result of low government spending. Things have changed, but we do not have to accept this new level of mediocrity. We can be exceptional again. But we need to do things differently. To a great extent, Republicans have lost the narrative on social issues, on the environment, on energy policy, and on education. What we still have are proven Republican solutions on jobs in the economy and on fiscal responsibility, smaller government, and low taxes. And I'm here to tell you that when Republicans focus on these issues, Republicans win elections. At CPAC, there was a certain senator who talked about 4 ways that we can win in 2014 and beyond. Let me give you my 4. Number 1, to win, we must focus on jobs and the economy. A poll by Rasmussen just about a month ago showed the vast majority of Americans, 76%, still say the number 1 issue affecting them is jobs and the economy. We have to be sure we can get back in control of the message on these issues and promote the right policies. In my view as policy leader, it's actually okay to say no to bad policies and not be swayed by the feel-good, ineffective, and hurtful policies that increase regulatory burdens and costs on employers and eliminate jobs and unnecessarily increase government spending. The Democrats' so-called solutions are not working. Stimulus spending into unprecedented debt, bailouts for certain companies, providing special subsidies, and adding excessive new rules, taxes, and mandates. Republicans will show the world that when we reduce barriers to entry, when we get the government out of the way by making it easier and less expensive for all of us, when we reduce the cost of energy and health care, and when we encourage responsible business behavior versus penalizing it, we will prove again to the people of our state and our country that we can fix this. When the free market economy is doing well, companies stay in business. They grow, they invest, and they hire. When businesses do well, we raise enough revenues without having to raise tax rates. When businesses do well, when we privatize tasks that the government has no need to do, we can actually cut taxes while still helping those most in need. Number 2, to win, we must talk with everyone. It's time to start conversations everywhere and with everyone. We need to stop just talking amongst ourselves, and we need to listen to others. Many people who voted for Obama are unhappy right now. Their lives have not gotten better. Their job prospects have not gotten better. Their health care has not gotten better. We have a real opportunity to inspire people and return to the American dream, which is the basis of exceptionalism. It's the idea that you can do great things, that it doesn't matter what your humble means you came from. What matters is what you decide to do and where you decide to go. Republicans believe in individual potential and opportunity, and we celebrate success. On a personal note, I was raised in a poor family just down the street from here in Nashua. My dad worked all day standing at a machine on a cement floor. My mom worked at night as a bookkeeper. And she and my uncle were the first people in the family to ever graduate high school, and I was the first to graduate college. But I always believed that if I worked hard and I made the right decisions, I could achieve anything. Now we have a real opportunity to remind people about how exceptional our nation and our state has been and will continue to be again, and we can grow the Republican Party. But we do need to be friendly, warm, inviting, and welcoming to all. As our friend Governor Sununu always said, we need to talk, but we also need to listen and encourage people to give our solutions a try and to give us a try. Number 3, to win in 2014, we must improve how we communicate. It's not just what we say, it's how we say it. We need to let people know that we care about them and not just give them the facts and figures. We need to connect with them emotionally too. We need to expand beyond what I call using Republican speak. We need to rephrase things in a way that resonates for non-political people. And number 4, to win for the long haul, we must remain true to our core principles, championing the free market and encouraging entrepreneurism and exceptionalism so that individuals can aspire to greatness and achieve great things. We need to limit the size and scope of government in our daily lives and trust that you can make your own best decisions. And we need the government to be much, much better with your money. In fact, I'd use the word frugal with your tax dollars and reduce wasteful spending. America can be great again, and New Hampshire can and will lead the way. We can be the beacon for prosperity and for compassion here in New Hampshire. As a friend of mine said, I think he's in the room, we don't have to be blue. We all know that government goes to those who show up. So thank you for all showing up here today and signing up for the fight.
Hearing from our 3 emerging leaders, I hope you would agree we have a very bright future in our Republican Party. I have much, it's very rewarding to get to work with emerging leaders and really anybody who runs for office, because we all know we have enemies. Only those willing to put their name on the ballot get an accurate count. With that, we have 12 minutes. So in a true New Hampshire town hall setting, you can ask a question of any of our emerging leaders. Yes, sir.
Guys, short question for each of you. For the fellow from Virginia, there's a lot of catfighting between the moderate and conservative wings of the party, and I guess Bob McDonnell got in trouble for having his hand in the till. For the fellow from Connecticut, you said we could win in the Northeast. How are we going to do it? And Lori, give me some examples of how you would articulate a message better.
Okay, let me talk about this infighting thing. I adhere to the Reagan rule, and as David said, I just took over either probably the biggest fight of my life that I'll have in our own caucus. We use a gentle stick at this point to keep those folks in the chamber. And I think it is about dialogue, as you've heard a little bit today. And we've got to focus, we're not the enemy. Stop circling the firing squads and shooting each other, and we'll start winning elections again. We spoke a little bit about that. Listen, it wasn't easy. We made 166,000 phone calls, knocked 39,000 doors, and we raised $1.2 million to win an 86-vote victory. And we were all working together. So the challenge that we see between the Tea Party or whatever label you want to put on people, I think we got to take the label off, quite frankly. Being a Republican's good enough. Being a Republican's good enough. What we need is ideas and solutions, and stop with saying no and figuring it out. We have the ideas as Republicans. Trust me, we have the ideas. We have to work together, and I think an atmosphere of cooperation and working on that dialogue is key for us. I know we're facing that. I actually live in the 7th District. Our Majority Leader of Congress, Eric Cantor, is my congressman. And I can tell you he's under attack right now, and we're facing that. Actually, today back home is a convention for us, so I'm missing that. But we'll get there slowly.
To answer your question about how we win in Connecticut, well, I'm a living example of that, for one. In each successive elections that I've had, presidential or not, I've gotten over 70% of the vote. The fact of the matter is really connecting with the people and recognizing that differences exist. Look, we don't even agree in my own household. But the true fact of the matter is, if you go in, as David mentioned earlier, and all the good speakers have said earlier, when you listen, engage, and deliberate, people respect that. People still respect the engagement of listening and interacting. We cannot just depend on negative mailers and the airwaves. There is no substitute for wearing out your shoe leather, meeting people at the grassroots, participating in the PTAs, being on the Board of Education. That is where people see your credentials. And that is not a shortcut. So we can win anywhere. And we can win in Connecticut, and we've shown that. So I hope people, again, build a team. Stop the infighting.
How do we change the message? Well, there's a lot of things we need to do, but I'll give you a very specific example. So in this room, we always talk about limited government, and we completely understand what each other means in that regard. But when I talk to my neighbors in Bedford, the moms, I talk to them about how they're really upset at the government, telling them what they can and can't feed their teenage son who's trying to play football and who's starving to death. So we have to make it personal and meaningful to the individuals we're speaking to. But I will also say, you know, we have a House Republican agenda, we have a platform, and it's written very well. But we need to change some of the vocabulary to make it resonate with regular folks out there. And I would like to set up some work sessions with all of you. I've talked to the Plymouth State College Republicans about this, and I'd like to talk to the young Republicans about this and any other group. Let's think about how we say it. Let's make it a little catchier. We can do this. It's not that hard, but we got to get away from just using our standard speak all the time if we're going to grow the party and be more open to more people.
Got time for one quick question.
I'm going to be real quick. I'm Representative Al Baldessaro here from Londonderry. I'm one of the tri-chairs of the House Republican Alliance. If you take a look at what Laurie said, what New Hampshire did, and the way we got there was through the House Republican Alliance, William O'Brien, who was the Speaker, and Pam Tucker. And the reason why I'm bringing this up here is because there were some comments that made about infighting. We had a large majority there, but we had a lot of people ran under ours that voted with the D's. Okay, and that killed us here in New Hampshire. Now, we need to make sure, and I'm telling you what I see, and we're recruiting ourselves, House Republican Alliance, because we're hoping for Pam Tucker once again to be the Speaker. But we need to come together and understand and speak out. Would you agree that, because if you look at the policies that were in place in the budget, that was some tough decisions that Bill O'Brien, the House Republican Alliance leadership, that came forward to make that happen. How do we come together and get rid of that infighting?
We make a decision right here, right now, that we wear one label. It's not conservative, rhino, libertarian. We are all Republicans here today.
Anybody else have one more question that our speakers can answer very quickly?
I would just tell you, people know how much you care when you show them how much you care. It's about getting where they are and meeting them at their door, meeting them at the grocery store, and showing them, stop talking it up and start putting it up. And if young people start doing that, and conservatives get engaged and understand what they're talking about, it's great to talk about policy, but you've got to show people that you care.